Hello and welcome to the EdjSports NFL Betting Preview for Week 13. I'm your host, Ian O'Connor, Senior Data Analyst here at EdjSports, and it's hard to believe we're already into the last third of the season. We're through 12 weeks. We've got the last week of buys this week with Carolina, Tennessee, Green Bay, and Cleveland all on bye, looking to come back in Week 14. Now today I'll be taking a look at tonight's Thursday night football game between the Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints, along with some of Week 13 Sunday games, and as always, our Moneyline value picks. And before getting into all that, just the usual reminders, you can catch me every Thursday throughout the NFL season, previewing the upcoming weekend's action. I'm here every Monday morning as well, where I'm joined by our VP of Data Science, Scott Brown. And on Mondays, we recap the weekend's action and the decision-making from coaches, as well as our betting preview of Monday Night Football on Monday morning. You can catch all of our shows on the EdjSports Podcast Network, that is available on your podcast platform of choice. Be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, help us grow our audience, and get this information out to as many people as possible. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our EdjSports YouTube channel, where you'll be able to catch our podcasts and our matchup previews, which we have for every game of every week. Also, be sure to check out our site and experience at edjsports.com. That is EDJsports.com. And download our new app, which is available for both iOS and Android. You can get pregame betting insights there for every game. You'll be able to see our fair value spreads and totals for every single game. A lot of the information I'm giving you here. Give a little bit more than what you can find on the site, but still there's a lot of information to be found there. You also have the ability to track your bets to see the probability of them hitting throughout the games. Those will update. So as the games are played and teams get out to big leads, start to make comebacks, you'll be able to see what the chances are of your bets hitting. That way, if you want to cash out, if it's not looking good, but you've got a chance to cash out, you can do so. So that's a really awesome tool to have. And then the last thing, we did release another video this week. We were kind of on a break last week with our coach rankings. There's a new coach at number 32. So Brandon Staley is still number 1 for the Chargers. Matt LaFleur moves up to number 2. We do have a new coach that has fallen into the last spot. I won't give that one away. Just head to our website at edjsports.com to see where your coach ranks if he's not one of those two that I just mentioned. So without further ado, we'll jump right into tonight's matchup, Dallas at New Orleans. So the Saints are turning to Taysom Hill to try and end their 4-game skid. They haven't won since October, one of, I think, 4 teams I think I saw that did not win in November. So it's been a rough month for the Saints with Trevor Siemian at quarterback. The defense, it's been pretty good, hasn't been as good here recently. Dallas themselves, they look to end their 2-game losing streak. And good news for them, Dak Prescott should have both CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper back for tonight's game. Big news there. Amari Cooper, they've said, still isn't really feeling himself, but if they're starting him, they must be confident that he can play. And then CeeDee Lamb coming back from that concussion, just 2 huge additions to have back for Dak Prescott and that Dallas offense. Now in this one, we've got 2 top 5 defenses. Dallas is 4th. New Orleans is 5th overall in the season. I did mention a moment ago, New Orleans really hasn't been as good here lately. They're only 18th since Week 10. Then we do have 2 struggling offenses, though. Dallas 7th overall in the season, only 15th in the last 3 weeks. Part of that obviously due potentially to the Cowboys missing a couple of their receivers. So they've got some guys banged up. Zeke Elliott's got that kind of a lingering knee issue, it seems. And then the New Orleans is only 20th on the year with the combination of Jameis Winston and Trevor Siemian. So hoping Taysom Hill can maybe get a spark for them. And then the Cowboys getting their receivers back. So a lot of new faces coming back this week we haven't seen either this season or in the last couple weeks. Now, an interesting split I noticed from this one, the New Orleans offense is 1st in red zone DVOA, and they're 3rd on defense. Now, the Dallas defense is only 20th in red zone DVOA, and they're 19th in offensive red zone DVOA. So looking at that, you got the Saints number 1 on offense in the red zone going against the Dallas defense. It's only 20th. And then the New Orleans defense in the red zone that's 3rd in DVOA going against a Dallas offense that's only 19th. So New Orleans seems to have the advantage at that point. That's a big part of football, but obviously there's a lot more going on that could and will affect this game. But just interesting to know, once they're down in the red zone, New Orleans does have the advantage on both sides of the ball. And those are stats that you can get from footballoutsiders.com. The overall DVOA, I believe, is available with just an email sign up. But for the premium subscription, FO Plus, you can get the red zone splits. You can get some head-to-head matchup splits and see those. And that is available with an FO Plus. It is the premium subscription that is available for only 99 cents a week for annual subscription. So really awesome information that I use here on this podcast every week, as well as prepping for our pregame matchup videos that we do as well. There's some fantasy information there as well. So a lot of really good stuff over at footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. So the big question here is can which of these teams, I guess not can they, which of these teams will break their losing streak, come out on top to start week 13? The market has Dallas -4.5. We've got it closer to Dallas -2, so less than a field goal there. That New Orleans Saints defense, I mentioned they've struggled lately, but have been good overall on the year. So we give New Orleans 61.1% chance to cover that +4.5. Now Dallas is 4-1 against the spread on the road this year, and New Orleans is 2-3 against the spread at home. They have failed to cover their last two at home. One was the game against Buffalo on Thanksgiving night. The other was against Atlanta, and that was after they covered in their win against Tampa Bay at home. So 1-2 in their last three. The last two have been against one good team, against one bad team. So interesting to see how that turns out if they can get back on track to cover tonight. Looking at the total, the market's got this one at 47.5 points. We're pretty much spot on there at 48, so not much dissent there. We think the market's got a pretty good total there. Only 51.1% chance to exceed 47.5 points, so really not much value to be had there. Now, Dallas and New Orleans are both 6-5 on the year. The over is for both teams. The Dallas over is 2-3 on the road. The New Orleans over is 3-2 at home. So really not much to take away from that. Again, that we don't really have a recommendation either way, as we're pretty close, only a half point above that market number. Looking at the public money this morning, 57% of the bets and 73% of the money is on Dallas. I think that's really no surprise. I like Dallas to win this one, just like our model does. I'm not so sure on the spread. I feel like this one could go either way. Again, we did have New Orleans at 61% chance to cover. So the edge model prefers New Orleans against the spread, but still does like Dallas to win overall, and so do I. So recapping that one, the edge has the value on New Orleans, pretty much nothing on the total. New Orleans, 61% chance to cover +4.5, and only 51% chance for this game to exceed 47.5 points. Now, moving on to the second game I'm going to cover, the Giants at the Dolphins. This is really not a super exciting matchup, but it is one where we see some value in both the spread and the total. So it looks like Mike Glennon will be getting his first start of the season in place of an injured Daniel Jones, who suffered a neck injury against Philly last week. It's not really, I don't know if he's actually been ruled out yet, but all signs point to Mike Glennon starting in this one, I believe. Jones could end up missing a couple games. Neck injuries are tricky, so we'll kind of have to keep an eye on that. But for this one, we're thinking it's Mike Glennon. I think a lot of people are expecting him to start if it hasn't been announced already. Now, Miami is the 8th best defense over the last 3 weeks, so it's going to be a tough test for Glennon in his first start this year. I think he's only faced Miami once in his career, and that was back in 2013, so can't really take much away from that. But 2 of the last 3 games for Miami where they've been that 8th best defense were against the Jets and the Panthers. Their ranking does include opponent adjustment, so it does take into account the fact that they were playing the Jets and the Panthers. But one of those games also was a shutdown of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens on Thursday night just a couple weeks ago. So they have been pretty good. Kind of we expected them to be pretty good coming into this season. They were very good last year. I think they were a top 10 defense in DVOA. Didn't really kind of live up to the expectations. And as we know, or you may not know, but we talk a lot about how defense is just much less predictive from season to season than offense. It's much easier to carry a stable or to be stable in offense from year to year than it is defense. There's just a lot of randomness, especially when it comes to turnovers on defense or forcing turnovers. But still, they've been pretty good here lately, kind of like we've expected them to be. The Giants' defense has also been good. They're 5th since Week 10. Only had 2 games because they were on bye in Week 10. One of those was against Tampa Bay. They lost 30-10, but still they held Tampa Bay. For most of that game, it seemed like they were still within striking distance. And then there was one against Philadelphia last week where they held Philadelphia to only 7 points. Jalen Hurts threw 3 or 4 interceptions. Just had bad game all around for Philadelphia. So both defenses have been pretty good. The offenses, though, are a completely different story. Miami only 17th since Week 10, 26th overall in weighted DVOA, which gives less weight to early season games. So they've been a little bit better, but still in the bottom half of the league. The Giants are 28th since Week 10 and 28th overall in weighted DVOA. So really not much to like from them at all. And then inserting a backup quarterback this week, not really looking too good for the Giants. And we, as well as the market, are expecting Miami to get the best of Mike Glennon and the Giants. The market sits at 4.5 points in favor of Miami. Our edge fair value has it as a touchdown at -6 for Miami. So the Dolphins have 53.6% chance to cover that -4.5. So in almost 54% of our simulations, the Dolphins cover. Not a huge edge, but still a slight edge there for the Dolphins at home. Split pretty evenly on the spread. The Giants 3-2 on the road this year. Miami 3-3 at home. Not sure really how much it will apply with a quarterback change and those numbers in the past. So we'll just have to see, but really not much to take from their season-long trends. The market, though, for the total comes in as the lowest of the week, 40.5 points. So, given these two defenses, who I mentioned have been good lately, plus two very underwhelming offenses, it's really not a surprise to see that. But we have this one a little bit higher at 45 points. Still a pretty low number. Still one of our lowest of the week, but we expect this one to go over that market total of 40.5, 64.1% of the time. So I mentioned how the defenses have been good on the season, not really as good as those recent runs. It's only been a couple game sample for each team, but still we're expecting this one to go over at a 64.1% clip. The totals on the season too, the trends for these teams are also pretty split. The Giants over is 3-2 on the road. The Miami over is 3-3 at home. Not really much to take from that. Just like to give out those numbers though, just for some reference for how they've done on the season. Sometimes you've got teams that do really well, the over or against the spread at home, on the road, or just in general. So I know the Cardinals are one of those teams for a while. They were, I think, like 7-1 against the spread and have kind of come down here lately. And looking at this one in the public, Giants and Dolphins, 86% of the bets and 68% of the money on Miami. Again, just like with Dallas, really not a big surprise there, at least to me. So recapping this one, there's slight value on Miami to cover at 53.6% chance to cover -4.5. And we have even more value on the over with 64.1% chance for the game to exceed 40.5 points. Now moving on to one of the best matchups of the weekend, if not the best, not counting that Monday night matchup between the Bills and the Patriots. On Sunday, we've got the Chargers visiting the Bengals. We've got Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow, two of the top three quarterbacks taken in the 2020 draft. As we know, Joe Burrow was number 1. Justin Herbert, I think it was number 6, right behind Tua at number 5. So two quarterbacks who are expected to be basically the man for their franchises for years to come, have both shown some flashes, have had their struggles at times, but have both looked really good. So really exciting matchup here. The two coaches, Brandon Staley, number 1 in our coach ranking. Zach Taylor is around the middle of the pack, but he's definitely shown some aggressiveness throughout the season, going for it on fourth downs, even in his own territory. We talked about this coaching matchup on our coach rankings video this week. Again, you can see that on our YouTube channel, Edge Sports, or on our website at EdjSports.com. Now, Cincinnati only one game back of Baltimore for first in the AFC North. This is really a big game for both teams. Cincinnati can take the lead with a win here and a Baltimore loss against Pittsburgh, because Cincinnati has the tiebreaker over Baltimore in that blowout back in week 8 or 9. I think it was week 8, don't remember, a few weeks ago. But Cincinnati currently holds the 5 seed in the AFC. The same goes for Los Angeles as far as their division. They can win, or with the tiebreaker over Kansas City from their week 2 win, they can take the division lead by winning against Cincinnati and Kansas City's loss to Denver, which isn't as likely, but still it's a possibility. And the Chargers currently hold the last playoff spot in the AFC at number 7. They've got that 7th spot just kind of clinging on. So a win would obviously be huge for either team here, but only one of them can win. So looking at the matchup on the field, the Chargers have the second best offense this season in terms of DVOA. Cincinnati's only 21st, but they are 11th over the last 3 weeks. Only 2 games, though. They also had a week 10 bye like the Giants did. So in the last couple games, they're 11th in offense, so pretty good. 2 good offenses. We know what they're both capable of. A whole lot of talent on both teams. Neither defense, though, is better than 16th, but Cincinnati is 4th in their last 2 games, while the Chargers are only 27th in the last 3 weeks. So a bit of a discrepancy there. The Chargers have a tough matchup against that, or Chargers offense has a tough matchup against a Cincinnati defense that's 4th in the last few weeks, only 16th on the season, still not terrible, middle of the pack. But then the Chargers going up, taking their 27th ranked defense up against the 11th ranked Cincinnati offense in the last couple of weeks. So Cincinnati could have the advantage there. Now I'm expecting this to be a close game, a lot of points. The market does like Cincinnati by 3. Opened at 1.5, but it still hasn't crossed that 3-point threshold yet. It's gotten up to 3, but has not moved past that. So not a ton of I don't know if I'd say really not a ton of confidence, but this one hasn't gone past the field goal, and that 3 points is a big number when it comes to looking at the spreads, especially in the NFL. Now our edge fair value is 2 points. but it's in favor of Los Angeles. So we've got about a 5-point difference here between these two, giving the Chargers 59.3% chance to cover +3 and 66% chance to push or cover +3. So in nearly 2/3 of our simulations, the Chargers win or they lose by just a field goal or less. So again, like I mentioned just a moment ago, I'm expecting this to be a close game, a lot of points. We are as well, with this game resulting in a Chargers win or them losing in a close one in almost 2/3 of simulations. Now, the Chargers on the season are 3-2 against the spread on the road, but they're only 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games. Cincinnati, on the other hand, is pretty similar on the season at home, 2-3, but they're 4-2 against the spread in their last 6 games. So Cincinnati has been much better covering it in their last 6 games than the Chargers have. So just an interesting note on that one. See if they can continue that trend or if the Chargers can get back on track there. Now, looking at the total, I mentioned I'm expecting a lot of points. So is the market. 50.5 points is tied for the highest of the week with Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Our edge fair value is 55 points, our highest of the week. That's 4.5 points higher than that market total. So we give this one 64.3% chance to exceed 50.5 points. This is also our value pick of the week, which you will see on social media that will go out here either tomorrow or Saturday. We're expecting this one to go over almost in 2/3 of our simulations. Now, 4 of 5 Chargers road games, this is going to be kind of contradictory here. 4 of 5 Chargers road games this season have gone under, but Cincinnati's last 2 home games have gone over. So just a couple notes there. Cincinnati's been putting up, they almost covered or hit the total themselves last week against Pittsburgh. The Chargers have been in some lower scoring games, at least compared to the total on the road. Regardless, we are expecting, based on these two teams and the potential of their offenses, who have been pretty good. Again, last few weeks, they've both been top 11. So we're expecting them to both combine for quite a few points on Sunday in Cincinnati. Looking at the public betting, 55% of the bets, 74% of the money are on Cincinnati. A little bit surprising to me that the money's not closer. People pretty heavy on Cincinnati. I know there's kind of been the narrative, and maybe, it is true to a point of Justin Herbert kind of struggling against really good defenses. Cincinnati doesn't have a great defense. I did mention they're good over the last 4 weeks or 3 weeks, but they have the game a couple weeks ago that they just gave up, got blown out by the Browns, who really haven't even looked like the Browns lately. In that game they did, obviously, but the offense has been struggling there. So they lost to the Jets. I know they got kind of hosed there at the end of that game with a personal foul or a face mask, helmet to helmet, whatever it was, that really shouldn't have happened. But still, given the defense, giving up, I think it was 24 points to the Jets. So the defense, while it's good, it has been good, isn't great. It's middle of the pack on the season. So a little surprised to see almost 3/4 of the money on Cincinnati in this one, especially given what our model thinks. I know I've gone against our model once or twice each of the last few weeks and have been wrong on both of them. So going to trust it this time. I think the Chargers have the edge here. So there's good value on Los Angeles and the over in this one. Just recapping those two numbers, the Chargers have 66% chance to push or cover +3. And then there is 64.3% chance to exceed 50.5 points according to our model. And now moving on to the Moneyline value portion of the show. So last week wasn't as bad as the week prior, kind of hard to get worse than 0-3. But we were only 1-2 last week. So Green Bay was our big winner. Jacksonville and Pittsburgh both lost. Jacksonville had a chance to tie late thanks to some questionable 4th down decisions from Arthur Smith in that one. And then Pittsburgh really just was never even in the game. And I think it was 41-10 loss to Cincinnati. So that one was kind of really just an embarrassment all around for Pittsburgh. They were our one pick, though, where we still had them below 50% to win. Cincinnati was our favorite, I think, at 52%. We just thought there was a little more value on Pittsburgh compared to what the market was giving. Now, this week, we've got one Moneyline pick that I'm pretty confident in. I'm going to give 2 long shots. Don't expect either of them to hit, but the market has them priced quite a bit lower than what our expectations are. So that first one, we just talked about it, didn't give the win probability number there, but the Los Angeles Chargers, 55% chance to win versus a market implied 41% against Cincinnati. So about a 14% difference there. Then Houston, we've got with a 36% chance to win versus a market implied 24% against Indianapolis. One of those I don't really expect to hit, but that Houston defense has been kind of sneaky good this year. They're actually top 10 overall in defense, which could be a little bit surprising, or probably is a little surprising to some of you. They did have the big win over Tennessee, who, to be honest, we didn't think was as good as their record based on the underlying metrics. But Houston and weighted DVOA is 7th on the year, and they're 3rd over the last 3 weeks. So really something that until I was really looking at it, didn't really realize that. So they've got a chance against Indy. And we've seen Carson Wentz, who's been pretty good for most of the year. We know Jonathan Taylor has been pretty dominant this season, running back for the Colts. But Wentz has had his share of games where he's thrown a couple picks. We saw those 2 against Tennessee that really cost them the game back in the middle part of the season. So this is one that could be a sneaky win for Houston again. They're at home. Tyrod Taylor's been back a couple weeks now, kind of maybe starting to get back in the groove, get under center, or now that he's been under center for a couple games, kind of get back into the groove of things. So we'll have to see, but we've got them with about 12% more chance to win, still only winning about 1 out of 3, or just over 1 out of 3. Then the other one is Denver, who's very close at 35% chance to win versus a market implied 21% against Kansas City. Now, this is the one I'm probably the least confident in. Denver's lost 11 straight versus Kansas City, haven't won since their first meeting against Kansas City back when Peyton Manning was a quarterback in their Super Bowl season. Kansas City has the 2nd best offense and defense since Week 10. So for all their struggles throughout the first half of the season, in the last few weeks, they're very good. Back to kind of what we have thought that they were supposed to be. Number 2 offense, number 2 defense. But Denver has won 3 of their last 4. 2 of those were against quality opponents in the Chargers, and that just shellacking of the Cowboys in Dallas, I think it was 3 weeks ago. So got the potential. That defense has been a little bit better the last few weeks than it has been on the season. I'm not sure I would pick Kansas City, but you do have a discounted price in the market there at 21% compared to our win probability of 35% for Denver. So that will wrap up the Week 13 preview. Here's a quick recap for those of you keeping track at home, and if you've missed anything. Dallas at New Orleans. New Orleans has 61.1% chance to cover plus 4.5, and there is a 51.1% chance for this game to exceed 47.5 points. Moving on to the Giants at the Dolphins. Miami 53.6% chance to cover minus 4.5. And there's 64.1% chance for this game to exceed 40.5 points. Chargers at Bengals. The Chargers have 66% chance to push or cover plus 3, and 64.3% chance for this game to exceed 50.5 points. Then moving on to our Moneyline values, the Chargers 55% chance to win versus a market implied 41% against Cincinnati. Keep messing that up. I'll read that one more time. Chargers 55% chance to win versus a market implied 41% against Cincinnati. Houston 36% chance to win versus a market implied 24% against Indianapolis, and that is at Houston. Denver 35% chance to win versus a market implied 21% at Kansas City. So that'll do it for this week's betting preview. Be sure to check out all of our pregame betting insights for Week 13 and beyond on EdjSports.com and our new EdjSports app. That is EdjSports. And don't forget to come back on Monday to hear our weekend recap and then get our Monday Night Football betting preview between the Patriots and the Bills. Got a big one coming up in that AFC East. So please subscribe to the EdjSports Podcast Network. Again, that is on your podcast platform of choice. Give us a 5-star review. Help us grow our audience as much as we can. And then don't forget to subscribe to our EdjSports YouTube channel as well. I know a lot of subscribing there, but we really appreciate it, and you won't regret it. So there you'll be able to see our matchup previews on the EdjSports YouTube channel. We do a preview for every game of every week. And then don't forget to check back on Wednesday for our next head coach rankings update with our Champion Gaming brand ambassador, Katie George, and I going over the updated rankings, throwing some challenge flags on some coaches who maybe made some suboptimal decisions that are kind of under the radar, give out some golden whistles for coaches who made some really good decisions that kind of fly under the radar a bit. And then we look at our head-to-head matchups that we're most looking forward to. I mentioned this week one of them was Brandon Staley and Zach Taylor. Staley, number 1 in our coach ranking. So check back next Wednesday. We'll have that next update that will be through the Week 13 games. So thanks for listening and enjoy the Week 13 action.